Alright, so today we're back and I had a buddy drop off a mower. He said you can have it. I don't care what you do with it. He says it doesn't run. So it's a 21-inch Husky. And I'll show you what I do to, we'll basically get this running. So we'll go through the steps and I'll show you what I do with a mower that I know nothing about. So we'll end up starting this video right now. Alright, so I was looking at it, and I don't think that I'd have to remove the gas tank on this model. So we're going to take off these three nuts here. They're 10 millimeter. We're going to remove the spark plug wire. And there's no nests in there. Everything seems to be moving freely. We'll take the air compressor and blow all this out too before we put it together. So I'm gonna take off the coil pack next, just so everything can be removed from this. So I think these are a 10 millimeter as well. This one you're gonna need a deep socket for. I'll need a ratchet for both of these, so let me grab those. Alright, we're going to use a 10 millimeter to get the coil pack off. And those came off pretty easy. A lot of the times they don't. Before we remove this fully, you'll see a little, basically it's just a piece of wire wrapped around. So we'll pull that, remove that, and then wherever I stuck my 10 millimeter at, we will get the other bolt out. And then the whole unit comes off. So as you can see right there, it's pretty rusted. It's still enough to get spark, but I want to clean this up. And then if you rotate the flywheel, there's a little bit of rust on the magnets of the flywheel. So we'll get that all cleaned up and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, now for cleaning the coil pack, what I like to use is my Dremel with one of these nice little flapper discs on it. It's just a sanding disc. You can use a wire wheel. Make sure you at least wear safety glasses with the wire wheel, because I had wires come out. So we're running this on, what is it? I think 1500 RPM. You don't want to go too high, and you don't want to go too low. I found a 15 is usually where you want to go for, so we'll just clean this up. All we're doing is getting the rust off of it. We're not changing the shape of it in any way. We're just cleaning it up. And that's nice and clean right there. This is a good time to check to make sure where your bolts go through are clean. And that's clean enough. You'll get good spark that way. So we're gonna use the Dremel and the flapper disc again to clean up the flywheel. So we'll just bring that over. Make sure it's pointed at to where I want to point it at. There's a metal shim just hanging here. Don't lose that. You want to keep that in the same spot where it's supposed to be. And that should be good enough. You want to check the rest of the wheel to make sure there's not another set of magnets, because sometimes there is. And that's it. I don't see it. Now that you have this top off, this is a good time to check to make sure your brake works. And that seems to be working, but it seems like it should be coming in a little further. We may have to adjust that. We'll find out after we get it running, I guess. So now that we got that off, I'm going to take the air compressor, blow all this out, and then remove the cover for the carburetor. All right, so we're taking the air box off. These are also 10 millimeters. Sometimes these are on there pretty good. There we go. There are 3 of them on here. The last one being an actual bolt instead of a nut. So that comes off of there. You can easily just pull that off, move everything out of the way. Now we're down to our carburetor. Since there's gas in it, what I'm gonna do is, it's a good time, you can, if you have a set of needle nose vice grips like this, these things are excellent for squeezing off the fuel line, so you don't have to worry about gas spilling out all over the place. The only gas that's going to leak is the gas that's inside the carb. So we're going to get this little clip back first. Pinch off the fuel line. If these are dry rotted real bad, you could damage it using the vice grip method. So before we take that off, we'll remove this. Remember the orientation and which way it goes. I usually lay this way up, which means it would be pointed out for me. Remove your throttle. Then you have a throttle spring, like a return spring. You can use your needle nose and just pull that up out of the way. There's 2 holes on here. Remember which one it goes in. And these can be a major pain to pull off, depending on how old they are. I got a bunch of fuel line in case if I need to replace this, so. And that's on there. Let's see if I have my pliers handy. And yeah, that's on there good. Carburetor comes off just like that. If you can keep your fuel line elevated like that, the gas shouldn't come out. We have our gasket there. If you have a flashlight handy, you can look down in there just to make sure everything's clean, everything looks good. The only thing in there is gas, no oil or nothing, so our piston rings are good. So I'm gonna clean this carb. I will do a separate video on the carb cleaning, and then we'll pick up putting it back on. All right, we're back, and our carb's nice and clean. So we're gonna put that back on. Like I said, I did a video on how to clean this. It should be in the very next segment. So just slide the carburetor on, make sure your gasket right here is in place. And what we'll do is just go ahead and hook up our, we'll hook up the gas line first. That'll probably be easier. Fuel line isn't too long, so we'll hook this up first. We'll put it on there first, then put the gas line on. And then we'll put our little clip on. At this time, we can remove the clip for the fuel line, and that'll spring back into place. Now we're gonna hook up our throttle linkage. It just slides right in. Then we're gonna hook up our little spring for our, where the hell did my needle nose go? Hook up our spring for our return. And that's it. Give it a little squeeze to make sure that it stays on there. All right, so we got the carb back on. What we're gonna do now is put our stator, well, our coil back on. And now what I do is when I put the coils back on, I like to take just a regular playing card, put it against the flywheel, and then rotate the flywheel so that, see if I can do this. Okay, hold on. Rotate the flywheel so that the spring, or not the spring, holy cow, the magnet is right here. Put your card against the flywheel. The magnet will hold the coil back into place. So all we have to do is tighten this back up. and then screw the other one back in. And then after that, we remove the card. Now we're gonna remove the card, and what that does is that gives you your gap between the flywheel and the coil. And then you're gonna wanna rotate this. Just to make sure that the flywheel isn't touching the coil. And that seems good. So now what we're gonna do is, it's starting to get windy as heck out. We're gonna connect these two wires, that's for your coil. And then wrap this around it just like it was before. I think it's kind of cheap how they do that, but hey, it works, right? Now we're just going to put this top back on. Just like that. Take our pole starter. All right, so we have that top part done. We're gonna go ahead and put our screws in here, or put the nuts on. Now I'll take my other screwdriver, put the 10mm in it, and just snug it up. This lever right here, you're going to want to make sure it actually pushes your choke, and it does. Everything else is hooked up, so now we can hook the, and I ended up putting a new spark plug in, so now we can put the spark plug boot back on. And that's it for that. So now we can put the air box back on. Don't forget to hook this line back up. And we are going to want to, this goes back on. There we go. All right, now we're gonna put the airbox back on. Put the screws back in it. Trying to work in close to the camera. Now I gotta search for my other screw because it went running off on me. All right, now what we're gonna do is put their cover back on. Put your 4 screws back in. And then if you want, you can put your air filter and everything back in. I'm not gonna put that in yet until I get gas in it and confirm that it actually runs. So we checked the oil, put new spark plug in it, took off the carburetor, cleaned that, cleaned the coil pack. And for the most times, for almost every time I worked on one of these, that's all it needed. So we're gonna go ahead and put gas in it and see if it goes. All right, so we put gas in it, and now we're gonna see if it starts. All right, so it is indeed not starting. We're gonna try the starting fluid, and then if it ends up burning out the starting fluid and then dying again, then it's definitely not the carb, but it's still a fuel delivery issue, to say the least. It ran longer, so we're gonna try it again. I'm pretty sure that the gas that was in there hopefully wasn't bad, but you never know. It could be also trying to burn out that shitty gas. Try it again. And then one more time for good measure. And it seems to be running a lot better on the third time. Maybe it was just burning out the shitty gas is what I'm thinking. So we're gonna put the airbox cover and everything back on. I am going to take off the blade, sharpen it, do an oil change on it, and this is ready for sale for the customer. I have a buddy at work that was interested, that said he needed a push mower, and here it is. The only thing I'm waiting on is the side chute from it, because this can either be used as a mulcher or a side chute. So I gotta fix that. I think you can also get a bag for it, but not too many people seem to be into the bagged models. So I'll clean it up, do an oil change, do the blade, wait for the side chute to come in, and it'll be for sale. So that's pretty much all it took. Anybody with any questions and comments, let me know down below, and subscribe, or thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.